I don't really feel that I belonged as a kid. Actually, quite the opposite. I never felt as if I was part of a group where I was accepted, where I was me, and others saw me as me, and it was okay. I wasn't okay, and it wasn't okay to be me when I was growing up. I can't tell you when this realization first hit me, first took hold of my self-image, draining me of the sense of worth or worthiness. But by the time I was 7 or 8, I saw myself as an outcast. I was not alone. There were other outcasts. My friend, the principal's son, Bruce, was an outcast just like me, and we'd hang out together. Outcasts after school, outcasts during the summer. We never talked about the fact that neither of us were the in people, but we knew it. And we made the best of it as best we could, enduring the jeers and the taunts of the other kids when we could be set apart as not one of them. Belonging was something I hungered for, but I didn't know how to feel. In high school, I belonged to the science club, a somewhat safe place for geeky kids like me. I was a Boy Scout, but even there I felt as if I was something of an outsider. I was not fully welcomed into the circle of other boys and always seemed unconnected. And they connected in a way I never could be. When I look back on my young self now and see that child, I want to reach out and embrace him. Let him know that he really is okay, that he is loved, that he is worthy. I want to let him know that he belongs. You know what's amazing? It's amazing that I can stand up here in front of all of you and share what I just shared. What I just said is something that I could not say in just about any other gathering. This place, not the physical location, but the place we create here with all of you, with all of us, joined in covenant as we are, allows me to be me, to take off my mask and know that I am accepted, and that young kid sitting by himself at lunch, the last kid to get called onto a team during gym class, and that only because they had to. The one that was never invited, the unworthy one who is as much a part of me as the confident, self-assured adult that I somehow have become, is welcomed and embraced and loved and is part of this circle of belonging. We need to belong. As human beings, we have a fundamental motivation to be accepted into relationship with others and to be part of social groups. Psychologists have long recognized this primal need we have to engage, not just in one-on-one relationships, but as part of stable social structures. Being accepted as part of relationships, of social groups rather, contributes to both mental and physical health. It's true. Those who have positive relationships with others in a stable group setting are happier. And oh, by the way, we live longer. Science tells us that our need to belong is part of our evolutionary makeup. That those who formed groups to share tasks such as hunting and cooking and building shelter and protecting one another from wild animals or competing tribes were the ones who were more likely to survive and pass their genes along. More so than any other species, we humans receive most of what we need for survival, not from direct connection with nature as lone wolves, but from the social groups that we make up and that we become part of. As we integrate into groups, be they of our choice or those chosen for us, we decide how we present ourselves, something that psychologists call, guess what? Self-presentation. Or impression management. Think about that. Consciously or unconsciously, we determine what parts of ourselves are okay. Okay within the particular group that will mark us as part of rather than apart from. We want to be accepted. We want to be included and not excluded. Being excluded is painful. It is shameful. It's depressing. Something that the young Jeff May was quite familiar with and knew all too well. Was it because he didn't know how to do impression management? Or that he didn't understand how and only slowly learned how to wear the mask that marked him as one of the tribe? What tribes do you belong to? If you are like most of us, you belong to many, and for different reasons. As you think about it, what are the versions of you that you show which allow you to be accepted into those groups? To what extent can you really be yourself and know that you will be accepted? Are there parts of you that you hide, that you fear that if exposed would subject you to rejection or suspicion as not being completely and authentically part of the group? In your extended family? In your professional life? In your various circles of friends? In your faith community? One of the things that makes this Unitarian Universalist faith community different from others is something that Reverend Tony touched upon last week. It's that our congregations are covenantal rather than creedal. Being raised as a Roman Catholic, something that many of us here I know from conversations are quite familiar with, it was assumed that I believed certain things about the nature of God, the divinity of Jesus, the rules about how I was supposed to understand the nature of who I was, my original sinfulness, my redemption in my belief in Jesus, my ritual observance of the articles of faith, confession, participation in the Eucharist, and in that day abstaining from eating meat on Friday. That kind of ages me a little bit, right? Observing the rituals of Lent and etc., etc. In other words, what marked me as a Roman Catholic, at least in theory, was my acceptance of and adherence to a particular set of beliefs expressed in the Nicene Creed. We believe in one God, the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, etc., 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 etc. What makes a Catholic or an Episcopalian or a Lutheran or a Muslim or a member of most faith traditions is one's acceptance of a creed, at least outwardly, and wearing a mask that says, I do. I'm one of you. What does it mean to belong here? Nita touched on it a little bit. What makes this a safe place, a place of sanctuary, a place of wholeness, a place that is holy? It's one of the hardest things to explain to someone who, upon finding out that you're a Unitarian Universalist, asks, what is it that you believe? The question itself exposing an expectation of a creedal response and framing the conversation in a way that makes it difficult to really explain what it is that makes us UUs. Not having a creed, an expression of a particular belief in the nature or existence of God, a set of sacred scriptures that explain where we come from and where we're going, a set of understandings that we all agree upon as the origins of life and what happens after we die, a set of answers to life mysteries often tempts us to imply that we can believe anything. Right? You've heard that answer before. Right? It's not the case. It's not the case. What makes us Unitarian Universalists is our entering into a covenant to be with one another in a community of acceptance, in a community of trust, in a community where our diversity and the sharing of our individual paths and experiences and perspectives freely with one another is what binds us together. This is what it means to belong to a covenantal community. Different Unitarian Universalist faith communities express their covenantal relationships in slightly different ways, but based on our shared principles, which are not a statement about what we believe about the nature of God, the origins of life, but an understanding of how we will be in relationship with one another, that we will respect each other and honor our uniqueness, treat each other with compassion, allowing each other to find our truth as led by our conscience as we search together for meaning, for understanding, that we are not here alone, and that how we live our lives matters to each other and every living being on the planet. We, as Unitarian Universalists at the Unitarian Universalist Church in Meriden, express our covenant with these words. This is our congregational covenant here in this congregation. As members and friends of the congregation, we covenant to cherish the well-being of the congregational community above our own personal preferences. Joyfully welcome, support, and integrate newcomers into our community. Embrace our diversity as a source of communal strength and acknowledge and care for others across our differences. Honor and hold ourselves accountable. Hold ourselves accountable by respecting commitments to individuals and to the whole. Presume, this is a tough one. Think it's easy to be a UU? Presume the best intentions of others. Presume the best intentions of others. And maintain a sense of humor. Strive to create a safe place for expression by accepting responsibility for our own actions, speaking our truth honestly with care and compassion, listening with open hearts and minds. Recognize conflict as an opportunity for growth and creativity so that truth and sound decisions can emerge from an open exchange, and we approach disagreements by remaining engaged in the process with love, compassion, and respect. And listening deeply to others, addressing differences directly while encouraging all voices to be heard. That's our covenant. That's what it means to belong to this community. There's not much need for a mask here if we're in a community that we just described. As long as we can trust each other in this covenant, for me, this is a tribe I can belong to. Here I found a place where I can take off my mask and allow myself to be who I am. Here I am part of and not apart from, not in spite of who I am, but because of who I am. Here I have found a place to belong. In the words of Starhawk, we are all longing to go home to some place we have never been, a place half remembered and half envisioned, where we can only catch glimpses of from time to time. Community. Somewhere there are people to whom we can speak with passion without having the words catch in our throats. Somewhere a circle of hands will open to receive us. Eyes will light up as we enter. Voices will celebrate with us whenever we come into our own power. Community means strength that joins our strength to do the work that needs to be done. Arms to hold us when we falter. A circle of healing, a circle of friends, some place where we can be free. Here we have gathered not because we are compelled to, but because we want to. We want to belong to something bigger than ourselves. We want to be in a community where we are accepted and allowed to be who we are. Here we belong to one another and celebrate one another and are with one another honestly, openly, freely, safely. Here, the little boy who never fit in can come out of his shell and know that he's loved. And whether you were the most popular child in your class or sat in the shadows, whether you are the life of the party or someone who's more comfortable staying at home and reading a book. I hear some recognition. Whether you are gay or straight or transgender or understand your way of relating to others in some other non-traditional way, wherever your ancestors came from and whatever ethnic traditions you find meaningful to celebrate, no matter how you understand the nature of God or even if you find no meaning in that word, no matter what you believe about the origins of life or whatever happened at the end, if you are willing to enter into this covenant of mutuality and trust, if you cherish this community where being part of the whole makes us greater than any of us can be by ourselves, then here you are you. Here you are safe. Here you are home. Here you are loved. Here you belong.